And that's just not possible with Flash. Like, that is brand new to me. Like, this idea is totally brand new. Like, you just can't do that. You can set your shutter speed at a 50th of a second on Flash. It's still going to be 4,000th. Right? So I think LEDs open up other possibilities that I kind of hadn't thought about, like wind in the hair, right? So if you've got a fan on the hair and you shoot with Flash, the hair is caught every single time. But if you're shooting at a 60th, the hair will be moving, right? So you get this kind of slightly more real, organic looking image to me, which I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of drawn to. I think a lot of images can be a little bit clinical now, and I think the LEDs can kind of help with that. And I think that opens up a bunch of things. The other thing as well is that I mentioned to you before about my camera never coming off 125th ISO 100, right? That's just the way I was trained, right? Back in the day, coming into the early or like late 90s, if you were shooting on film that wasn't ISO 100, you were an artist. Right? Like, that's a creative decision. Like, you're not doing that as an option. I'm not going to shoot on ISO 400 film as an option, right? You're doing that knowing that is going to be grainy as hell. And you're okay with that. You want that grit, that's fun. That's fine. But now I think, I hold that same stigma when it comes to choosing ISO. It's just not the case with modern cameras, right? And I think that, any digital camera made, this side of the turn of the century is pretty good in terms of ISO, and especially like the newer mirrorless cameras in ISO are very, very good. Couple that with the black magic that is being used in Lightroom with denoise. I don't know what spooky shit they're doing in there, but what that tool in Lightroom does to eliminate noise is crazy. But my point being is that I think, us old school shooters who are just terrified to come off ISO 100, it's not fair. You can, I can shoot ISO 400, maybe even 800, and nobody's going to know. Right? Nobody's going to know, because that noise is not film noise from like back in the day. It's just a way of giving you extra light. And you look at new students today, right? If you look at a new student today doing art college or whatever, and they've got their mirrorless camera that their parents got them for Christmas or whatever, like, they don't give a shit about shooting at ISO 800. Like, it's not this big fear for them. It's just a tool. It's an option to get more light. It's not the, oh my god, I'm going to get tons of noise option. It's just not there anymore. So I think the like the argument with power and LEDs is something that I've kind of learned as well. Like, a lot of my shots now are ISO 200, right? Whereas maybe a couple of years ago, they're ISO 100, because I don't quite have the juice there. But it's fine, right? It's okay, to shoot at ISO 200.
Exactly. This is always, like, when I do like talks in a camera clubs, for example, this is always my argument about battery powered strobes, for example. And sort of people go like, oh yeah, but I don't want to run out of juice. I'm like, well, you're shooting a relatively modern Canon camera, so why would you want to shoot at ISO 100 when just by moving it to 200, no pixel peeper can tell the difference between ISO 100 and 200 nowadays.
And let's not forget, if you do that from ISO 100 down to 200, like, in terms of strobes, every single shot you take is half the power.
Exactly. And you get twice as many shots.
Exactly, twice as many shots. You're literally, like, that's what the power of these, strobes is doing. Exactly. You're literally halving the power. Yeah.
And that's also the thing, like we were talking earlier about speedlights, for example. I used to run my headshot business solely on speedlights for the first maybe 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and you deserve a commendation, mate. Absolute.
But the thing was, like,
is in the post.
Exactly. But people used to say, like, oh yeah, but how do you deal with batteries? Like, do you have to switch the batteries out all the time? It's like, no, I shoot at ISO 400. You can't tell. But first of all, you can't probably tell the difference. Well, that's it. But you have to change them out. So, but the whole point was, first of all, I'm shooting at ISO 400 because you can barely see a difference there. Even on the D750, you could barely see a difference between ISO 400 and 100. But the other thing is also, remember what the intention behind those shots. I'm not shooting images that end up on the side of a bus. I'm shooting images that end up on a website or as an email signature 150 by 150 pixels wide. So nobody can tell me that ISO 400 is the kind of grain or noise that you can make out in an image like that. It's ridiculous, So, it's that sort of thing. But with with LEDs and the fact that you have to be mindful of movement, do you run into issues with sharpness at all?
I mean, I shoot Nikon, so like that ship has sailed, you know. Like, I mean, it's
Take
there's
that.
there's sharp, and then there's Nikon sharp. So I mean, you gotta just let that go, man. You can't be chasing that.
No.
You're talking about movement, or are you talking
Yeah.
like, is that what you mean, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and and that's and that's like I said to you, I'm kind of embracing that, rather than being terrified of it. So no, I'm not shooting at shutter speed 500. I'm just not doing that. I'm not shooting at 250.
Mm.
I'm like the highest I'll go is 125th, right? But for some of my more kind of organic looking environmental portraits, I'm kind of okay going down to a 60th and a 50th and just kind of letting it breathe a little bit. But that's just me. That's just me.
That really, that sort of continues on from, another thing you talked about in the last episode, where you said one of the sort of downfalls or pitfalls of modern cameras is very often that they create very clinical looking images, and that, in your opinion, a lot of photographers nowadays actually move back to slightly older technology in order to kind of give it that grit and natural, um, personality, in their images. Is that something that you feel using LEDs over strobes sort of allows you to do?
Yeah, that is a can of worms. I need to be careful here. But uh, yeah, I mean, I've kind of spoken about this, and I've even written very extensive articles on the kind of like the homogenization of modern photography, right? And where that comes from is sometimes with education, right? I think we have one kind of idea comes out, and then 2 dozen other YouTubers will make the same video on the same thing, and you kind of get into these loops of very similar images or similar styles coming out. And one other aspect of that is the kit that we use, right? And I think that I'm just going to come out and say it, like, Sony cameras are excellent cameras. I just want to be clear in saying that they are excellent cameras. And I think that when it comes to marketing excellent cameras, I think it's kind of easy to say, do you want more of your images to be in focus? Do you want more of your images to be correctly exposed? Do you want more of your images to be sharper? Like, these are all just easy tick boxes, right? This is just like, yeah, this is music to my ears. I want all those things. I want them. Do you want less vignetting in the edges? Do you want, more edge to edge sharpness? Like, oh yeah, just give me all of that. I love all of that. Right. Very easy to sell that. But what can end up happening, in my opinion, is that some of those images can kind of look the same, right? Can kind of look very kind of similar. And again, like, if you shoot Sony, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Please, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, for me and the work that I do, or the work that I'm seeing, I'm kind of, we live in a world of AI where it feels like half the images we see are AI now, right? Or could be. Is that AI?
Yeah.
oh no, it was just taken on a Sony camera, right? And this is kind of where we can, kind of be like we need to be careful. I'll just tell you a story. I used to manage a photo studio a million years ago, and I used to be responsible for training kind of like the new staff coming in, right? And they'd usually be, fresh out of college or whatever, art college or whatever. Yeah, got my little bit of paper, and I'm ready to go, Jack. Get me in the studio. Just put me in there. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Just before you do that, let's just have a quick chat about photography, what you're going to be doing, what you think we're doing, and all that sort of thing. So I just want you to sit down. I just want you to write out like 3 or 4 things that you think make like a perfect photograph, right? Just write down, just a small list of things that you think make a perfect photograph. And, you're going to get in focus, right? You're going to get correctly exposed. You're going to get, rule of thirds, the white balance. Do you know what I mean? Like, these things, like, this is the list that I would typically get, right? Eyes sharp and all this sort of stuff. Okay, cool. And I go, brilliant, love that. Okay, I want you to Give me that list. I want you to now go away, and I want you to just go online for an hour, and I just want you to bring me back 20 images that you think are the greatest 20 photographs that have ever been taken by humanity. And I want you to bring them to me. Like, this is entirely up to you, but you bring back the 20 best photographs that have ever been taken and show them to me. So they go away or whatever, Pinterest or whatever, and they come back and they bring me these 20 images. I go, wow, these are incredible. These are beautiful. Wow, some beautiful images. Now, when you look at these images, this is like one of the first things you think, wow, that's in focus. Ooh, the white balance on that. It's bullshit. It's fucking not. This is not what makes a great photograph. Like, these are not the elements of these iconic images that we see, or, we scroll through 1,000 images on Instagram, and the one image that maybe makes us stop today. If you're looking at that image and you're going, that's in focus. That's crazy. Like, these are just prerequisites. These are just like the basic things. Like, this is not these things that you're listing out that you think make a perfect image, perfect photograph, is not what makes an amazing photograph when you see it, right? It's going to be like the pose or the expression or the power or the color dynamics or the angle that it was taken at it's just a million and one things that you can, and you can do this yourself. You can do this yourself. You can go away, choose 20 images and be honest with yourself and look at those 20 images, because everybody's 20 images will be different, which is why I used to do it, right? Which is why it's really important. I do this when I'm training new people. I go, like, your style that you don't think you have is hidden in those 20 images, because everybody's 20 images is different, right? And if, like, there will be common areas in that image. So for like one person, it'll be a lot of these shots are taken at a low angle at like 50 mil, or there'll be a huge use of like complementary colors, or there'll be really dynamic, edgy posing. Like, everybody's 20 images are different, right? But within those 20 images is your preferences and your style. And that is what's going to be speaking to you. But at no point is it that's correctly exposed. Love the white balance on that. It's fucking bullshit. It's just not. Yeah. It's just not. This is not what makes these great iconic images. And for some reason, like, camera manufacturers just love to use the very simple, like, yeah, it's going to be in focus. This next shot you take is going to be in focus. Like, okay, cool. I need something else though, really.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.